Hey Carson. So this one is going to be um, like one where I just kind of lay and just talk. Um, I don't know. I'm tired. I'm gonna turn the light off, so it's not gonna really be my face really or anything like that. But hopefully you can enjoy it for what it is and just lay with me. I don't know. So this is just gonna be by my face, and just I'll talk to you while I'm cuddled up and laying on my pillow, and you can lay on your pillow and cuddle up as well. So I'm thinking maybe what I talk about during this is some of my favorite books. Um, I haven't read in a while, but there are a few series where I really loved. So I guess we'll start with one of the first kind of series that I got into, and it's called The Land of Stories, and it's meant for ages. I'm guessing like I don't know, somewhere around middle school. And what it did is it followed these two kids into so their dad would like he used to own like a bookstore. So keep in mind I haven't read these in a long time. But their dad he used to own a bookstore, and one night he ended up dying in a car crash, and he ended up going through school, and I think they're around middle school age as well. And one day they're exploring in their dad's study, and they find the book called The Land of Stories. And what ends up happening is it falls on the floor, and they open it up, and they get transported to it. And the Land of Stories is just a bunch of like fairy tales, like from like the Grimm brothers or like Rapunzel and everything like that. And I used to love it. I read three of the books, and that kept me sad. That along with another book series that I'll talk next. Um, those were my favorites through middle school. My grandma actually bought me the first book to the Land of Stories and I read it while we were going to the airport, and I just sat in the back reading it the whole time. Um, I'd probably give it, um, it's like a fantasy action kind of thing. Um, I'd give it maybe I'd say maybe a 3.5 now. It was good. But I feel like if I was to reread it, I wouldn't really enjoy it that much. So we'll move on to the next one. And I didn't even realize these had such similar plot points. But the next one was called Fable Haven. And so basically what I'm describing are the books on my wall, the little like bookshelf. So if you ever get curious, you can just look at them. So the second one is Fable Haven, and so what that follows is this brother and sister. Um, they end up their parents go on a vacation, and they get left with their grandfather on this big like farm area, and they of course they've never talked to these people, this side of the family before, so they just kind of just get left there. And what happens is one day while they're out exploring, they find some milk on the ground or something like that. And what ends up and they drink it for some reason. I don't know why you drink milk on the ground. But they drink it, and all of a sudden they're transport, like they can see everything. It's like acid, I guess, or like some kind of hallucinogen, and they can see everything, like these fairies and these um, like goblins and stuff like that, and they end up going on a big adventure because their grandfather disappeared and the grandmother wasn't there from the start. And they ended up just like exploring this huge farm of like mythical creatures. And I used to love the boy on there. He was sweet. He had like shadow powers that he could sneak through and everything. That's actually a book series I kind of want to reread, even though it's meant for middle schoolers. I kind of want to reread it. I might reread it. Um, and then that brings me to probably my favorite, like my most favorite book series. So this one I'll probably take a bit more time talking about than the other two, because the other two are just kind of like middle school. But this one I read. So this one actually has a bit of history to it. Um, so it's called The Last Apprentice, and so in fifth grade when I was still going to Fairborn schools, I had this teacher named Miss Lyle. Miss no, not Miss Lyle. Miss I don't remember. I don't care. Um, but she every Friday we'd have like a day where we could just read, and she had like books, like a crap ton of books, like along the wall that we could like just borrow. And there was one that I picked up, and it was called The Last Apprentice, and I read it, and like throughout the whole entire like time, I had this one picture in my head, and it was a picture where it was like this eerie farmland, like the sky's kind of like a beige, like it has a beige like overtone. Um, there's like a witch standing like in the middle. There's a barn, and I just always had this like thing that I like remembered of the book, and it was so I ended up finally like, so that was fifth grade, and finally in eighth grade I actually found the book again, and I started reading it, and I actually learned that it was there's a series to it, and so I read all of it. Like I fell in love with that series. Like I stayed up on, at the time I had a subscription to the Dayton Metro Library for online books because of one of my teachers. And yeah, like I that those books took over my life. They were so good, and I just remember reading them and really enjoying them, because so what it follows is there's the seventh son of um, the seventh son of the seventh son is actually a like ward, which means they like fight against like evil things that appear in the night and stuff. And I don't know why this teacher had it on her bookshelf, because the tones for this were like dark. I feel like this was like definitely like a themed more towards like honestly high schoolers, but like because there was death and there was like torture and stuff, like not like bad stuff, but like it was in there. And I think there's 8 books in total, and I just read all of them. Like I'd stay up at night, not get on Xbox just so I could read them. And I eventually finished that series, but I ended up picking it back up. I think it was junior, sophomore or junior year, I ended up deciding to reread them, and I fell in love with them all over again. And like I understood more, and I remember it. Oh, I really want to go back and read those. I might have to like see how much they are or something. Like I need to, because what I have is I have the spin-off series on my bookshelf, but I never bought like the actual books for it because it was on because I could just read them for free online. And yeah, I really wish I really need to go back. I need to see how much like the collection would be or something like that. And they actually made a movie on it. It's called The Seventh Son. I never saw it because I heard that it was bad, and I don't want to like associate that with that. But yeah, and then there was there was a time where so I stopped kind of reading, and finally senior year, second semester, no, for one of the semesters, I had the guided independent reading class where like I just read. That was literally it. That was reading and journaling. And I picked up a series called like it was the Clockwork Princess like trilogy. And there were three books, and well obviously it's a trilogy. But there were three books, and it was definitely meant for high schoolers because it had it had like love and like it had like love plot points and stuff like that. And so it followed this girl who she flew out to England to meet with her brother, but her brother never showed up. And there were this group of people, and they brought her into this place, and they were going to like they were grooming her for to become the like wife of this guy. And it ends up this guy named Will comes in, and he act like on accident seems to be investigating the place, and he ends up saving her. And they find out that they're like shadow people or shadow something. I forget, but I would die for Will. Let me just say that Will is my boo thing. Okay, Will he is so just bien, so muy bien. But it ends up following the lead girl on her adventure, and what she can do is she can actually change. Like she's kind of like a shapeshifter. If she has a like a personal like a ring or like a necklace or something like that, she can actually transform into the person that like ring or necklace is belongs to. So she ends up being abused, and it's her adventures through that. She like obviously falls in love with Will, but then Will has his own like stuff to deal with, and he ends up disappearing for a bit because he needs to deal with stuff. So another person comes in, and this dude, I forget his name. He's also really cool. He ends up, bro, this book was so messed up. Um, he ends up like he's addicted to. So I don't know if it was his parents or something, but when like he was really young, um, people forced him to do this drug, and it ended up making him get addicted to it. And like he has to like it's an illegal drug, and he needs it to survive. And so like that's another plot point, just trying to get him the stuff. But it's just the adventures of them. And what's so messed up is like at the end of like she ends up falling in love with like the dude that's addicted to the stuff, and he like they end up getting like I think married or something like that. But like then he dies, and then Will, they marry, and then they live happily ever after. It's so messed up, but I remember it, and it was so good. I read it, but I didn't realize it at the time. It was actually like a prequel to a really famous book series. Um, I can't think of the name right now. If you ask me later on, I can look it up and I can get that to you. But yeah, that ended up closing, and then the book series that took over the rest of my senior year, like literally all like my free time whenever I had it, boom, brought out these babies. Game of Thrones. Now let me tell you, I almost gave up on it through the first book because I thought it was too hard to read, or not too hard to read, too hard to understand. I was sitting through there and it's like switching from character to character, then it comes to another plot point. I'm like, where are we? But I am so glad that I stuck through to that. And like these books are massive, and I remember just reading them all, and like the plot points, just the twists and turns, and just it's so well written. I feel like if you gave it a try, you would really like it. Or I really would like if you would watch the show with me. Um, I'd really like that. Like, because I'm ready to rewatch it. What happened is I was telling my mom about it, and I made her watch the first episode with me, and like she literally like fell in love. Like she doesn't even really watch that type of stuff, but she like fell in love with it, and like she would watch the episodes like every like from when the time she got home to the time she had to go to bed. And I'd watch like eventually like she caught up to where I was at in the books, cuz I watched the first season with her and then I stopped because I was like I read through it all and it was like word for word, but then it like ooh, I highly recommend either reading them or watching the TV show with me. I'd really love to do that with you. And yeah, those are the book series that really kind of took me into different worlds. And I like fell in love with, and I'll probably always remember them. Obviously, there's some books that like um, took me like solo standalone books that took me to places, but this is more towards the series. Um, so I love you. Um, I think I'm gonna go to bed now. So I will talk to you later. Bye.